Our country is not run by scientists. Economic experts or military experts, because we have to consider beyond just the spread of the virus. What happens when the whole economy implodes? What happens when 50 million people lose their jobs? What happens to rates of opioid overdose and suicide? What happens when China starts aggressing in the South China Sea because our country is shut down? There are many more inputs here. The way that we will be able to resuscitate a politics that is anyway conservative is going to have to recognize that the way the left has set up the conversation, it's a rigged game. If we buy their premises, even the supremacy of science, bring back, reinvigorate a culture of authentic politics. You saw the President Trump. seen for at least the past 50 or 60 years is that the left and the right would run for office. Democrats and Republicans fight each other. But it seems that our most pressing problems never get fixed. They only get worse. I'll give you an example. The clearest one would be the debt. We've got this huge national debt. Beyond the national debt, we've got a ton of unfunded liabilities at state and local level. For the office holders in the chat, you know this better than anybody. So how is it the case that the Democrats win and the debt gets run up, and the Republicans win and they run against the debt, but the debt goes up even higher? Why is that? I think it's because we're trapped in a political paradigm that doesn't permit an authentic conservatism. We don't actually care very much about the past. Even our conservatives are, in a way, sort of progressive. And really what that means is they only care about the present. So they'll tarnish historical figures. The left wants to tarnish George Washington. The right feels happy and complacent just to tarnish, say, Robert E. Lee or somebody like that. Someone that you can say, well, he was a bad guy. Even though, frankly, Robert E. Lee was very honorable. He fought for what you might call a dishonorable cause. But in his own right, Robert E. Lee showed more personal integrity than many people who are in office today. So the right will drag it back a little bit, but they basically share the same premises, and the same goes for the future. You dishonor your past. If you think you have no connection to your past, then you're not going to have much connection to your future either. What does it say about a culture that leaves as an inheritance to its posterity debt? It means you're not thinking in what you have just aptly described as the historical sense. And I think what we need to do as conservatives, what's so important, is to get rid of all this ossified ideology that boils down conservatism with a capital C as just 3 bullet points on a manifesto. Cut taxes, cut regulation, and bomb the Middle East. I don't know, whatever, kind of changes a little bit over time. But that's not it. And look, I love cutting taxes as much as the next guy, but that's not all it is. We have to be interested in conserving something. And when Trump came on the scene, the fact that he was not perfectly articulate in all the wonderful professional ways of politics was so...
Pulling out the coupe at the lot, told him fuck 12, fuck SWAT, busting all the bells out the box. I just hit a lick with the box, had to put the stick in the box. Pour up the whole damn seal, I'ma get lazy. I got the mojo.
That resounds, I think, a lot more with at least a plurality, if not a unity.
Pulling out the coupe at the lot, told him fuck 12, fuck SWAT, busting all the bells out the box. I just hit a lick with the box, had to put the stick in the box. Pour up the whole...
Just to top. I think we've hit a turning point. It's the first time in my lifetime that a conservative has acknowledged that. And if he can succeed, that gives me great hope for the future.
That's good. Okay, a specific mask question. And, by the way, for the name of the band, of course, I had that as the Boring, as in B-O-R-E-I-N-G. Not Boring as in B-O-R-E-I-N-G. Boring as in Jeremy and Montgomery. Anyway, it was a lame attempt. All right, the mask question.
I think we can use it.
What about Japan and Taiwan? Do these countries prove that masks work for COVID?
Well, it's very difficult to make these comparisons. One of the weaker elements of this scientific, or you might say scientistic, approach to politics, which is that the difference between the United States and Taiwan is not that one country wears masks a little bit more than the other. Right? There are deep differences between these countries in the way that we look at liberty, and the way we look at our own citizenry, and the way we behave, in the behaviors that we undertake. There are deep traditional differences between these countries. And you see in some nations, even within Western Europe, in some nations where the lockdowns have been much more serious, you see numbers go up or they go down. In some countries, such as Sweden, for instance, where there hasn't been much of a lockdown at all, the numbers went up a little bit, but then they actually declined precipitously lower than perhaps what we're seeing here. You see there have been some studies measuring the spread of coronavirus among school children in Sweden. They have spread it out. There might be spread in other countries. One cannot compare, and even within the United States, you have the entire public health apparatus saying don't wear masks, don't buy them. Fauci, the Surgeon General, major members of Congress, Eric Swalwell, the man who was almost president, he was that close. And so you had them all say that, and then on a dime they turn and they say, now you'll have to wear masks. There haven't been...
Are we in OKC?
Scientific literature says the masks actually don't work very much. So I think they're grasping straws, and more importantly, they're grasping at power. A little prudence goes a long way here. You feel that you're at risk, and you're in a place that is greatly at risk. Maybe put on the mask. It will only help a little bit. If you're not, if you're walking outside on in totalitarian regimes that says that everything that is not forbidden is mandatory. Well, that's what we're seeing, but probably the more prudent politics would be one that is a little more in the middle and actually acknowledges prudence.
Michael, always a pleasure, man. Thank you so much for joining us. Tell Senator Cruz howdy from all of us at Patriot Academy, and we'll get folks plugged into both the book club and your radio show as well. We really do appreciate you taking time, man.